Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
Hey everybody, it's GG. Today we're going to do Observing the World lightning round. I have here in our offices at the GG for GB headquarters my assistant, my chief assistant, Nixon Presley, who has gone over hours upon hours of peer-reviewed documents.
Peer-reviewed research.
Yeah, that's what we do here when we're Jehovah's Witnesses. We research everything. So let's get into it. We're going to get into it right now. Let me pull it up. Observing the world. Observing the world. The first thing.
Lightning round 1.
Watch. Americans ready to eat bugs-based foods to fight climate change. Why is Watchtower not talking about this? Jesse.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Now some of these packages, they have like the insect. The insect is like PL3270. That's right. The ingredient list. And so they're hiding the ingredient in the packages, and they're putting it in foods where even children will eat.
Yeah. We're here in our office, and the first thing you said when you left the doctor's office today, she put you on a what?
She put me on a diet.
And you were telling us this while I was doing what?
Cooking.
Making dinner. And about 4 blocks south of us is our school. And about 8 o'clock and 12 o'clock, Mrs. Abril used to run the kitchen there at O.C. Johnson. Mm-hmm. It would smell the whole damn neighborhood.
Yeah.
The greatest food when we were kids in the 1970s growing up. And so food, I think, is associated with love.
Correct.
It's in the deepest recesses of your memories, your parents, your school, your friends. And now we find ourselves in a situation where this is a cruel, cruel thing. Mixing insect protein into the food supply.
That doesn't sound like love.
To me, it sounds like hell on earth. To me, it's a food Armageddon. You think that the Watchtower, who's always writing about Armageddon, Great Tribulation, this is a food tribulation we're going through. This is food Armageddon. You think that they would have at least one article of the grotesque abuses of Correct. The culinary pleasures of mankind.
So, wow, again, derelict of duty, huh? Watchtower should be warning Jehovah's people of the coming tribulation of eating bug-based foods.
And you're going to find out that a lot of our peer-reviewed study are second to none, because being ex-Jehovah's Witness researchers and ex-elders, we really don't have very many peers.
Correct.
We're kind of like one of a kind, even though we're two.
Yeah.
Don't tell us how that works. But so a lot of times we'll mention things from another dimension or the other side of the coin. And I could say you mentioned the derelict of duty. I want to say something a little bit stronger.
Yeah. Like
maybe cowardism, but I just want to focus on the lack of love. Talking about insects in the food. Look, through all of history, we've always talked about Italian food, Mexican food, Chinese, French cuisine, cricket cuisine.
And Jehovah's nowhere to be found. That's
Are
the point.
These demon-inspired expressions?
Remember,
Watchtower's always talking about demon-inspired expressions. But cricket protein, if that's not a demon-inspired, the Watchtower is way... this is it. We're in Armageddon.
Yeah, we are. Oh, Great Tribulation. Okay, lightning round. How about this article? Every Christian in America is a target now. And it has to do with what happened in Nashville, Tennessee. And I guess these trans activists have like AK-47 T-shirts. And they're telling people, hey, we're coming after you. Now, all I'm saying is that there's a group of people online that are saying, if you're a Christian, be careful, especially in America, because they feel, just like the trans feel that they're a target, now the Christians feel that they're a target. But Watchtower doesn't mention this, that hey, you got to be careful, especially, at church. If you go to the Kingdom Hall, every church should be armed to the teeth.
Yeah. And this is also a testimony of how selfish a religion the Jehovah's Witnesses are. This is a monument testimony to the selfishness. For example,
Mhm.
all our lives we always were separate of the world.
Correct.
Jehovah's Witnesses are separate of the world, separate of the world. Along comes COVID,
Mhm.
and Watchtower has this innate obsession of being part of the world. They participate in the World Health Organization, the face mask, the social distancing, the shutting down of the churches, the kingdom halls. They are one and the same. They are the trinity
Yes.
of the pandemic.
Correct.
They're part of it. I mean, if Dr. Fauci had herpes, Watchtower would be a fever blister.
Mhm.
I mean, these people were part of the world. So here's something affecting Christianity, really like a death,
Mhm.
destruction, and they don't even mention it.
They don't even mention it. Like it doesn't even exist.
Hmm.
Now, it's lightning round, so we got to go to point 3. Elon Musk's brain chip company, Neuralink, moves a step closer to human trials. This should be on religious websites.
Not necessarily because
Okay, go ahead.
because you got to remember we're doing peer-reviewed research, so we're giving you the angle, the dimension. You're never going to hear nowhere,
Okay.
and that's the thing about the GG for GB channel. You're going to hear information that you're not going to hear anywhere else.
Correct.
Because we deal in truth,
Mhm.
and the truth is we don't need Neuralink. We already got Jehovah Link.
Yeah. Oh.
We already got Watchtower Link.
Mhm.
Watchtower already brainwashed 7 million people on Earth. They're already way ahead of Elon Musk.
They already put the chip in the Jehovah's Witnesses?
It's a spiritual chip.
It's a spiritual chip. Holy shit.
Yeah, they're ahead of everybody
So no wonder it's
by at least 1,914 years.
so no wonder it's not even in the
Yeah, they don't have to talk about it. They've already been
they've
there,
already done
that.
it.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Mhm.
The Jehovah's Witnesses already have a chip.
Mhm.
Oh God. It's a spiritual okay. This one here, technocracy.news. Chat King James Version. When Chat GPT, artificial intelligence, meets the King James Bible. Wow, I thought this would be a great news story that should be on jw.org. That people are going to artificial intelligence, Chat King James Bible, King James Version, Chat KJV, and they're asking it questions, and artificial intelligence is coming back with answers. What do you think about that?
Well, you know what? On ChatGPT, I didn't go to the meeting that day.
Okay.
So I have to claim complete and 100% ignorance. You know when you're a witness and you don't go to the meeting and Armageddon came and you didn't know?
Yeah, you didn't know.
Yeah.
But check this out. This is why it's so
you're going
important.
to have to comment.
Well,
on it.
no. Think about this. So, Jesse, what do you think about the book of Obadiah? It only has one chapter, and why is it important? Well, you got to be a Bible scholar to know. But today's kids, they're not going to want to know why this is just one page in the Bible. One book, one page. Well, the kid is going to say, well, let's go to Chat GPT. Let's go to Chat GPT, and I'll ask this question. Anything like that. Just any question about God, anything about Jesus. And the computer now is going to tell you what to believe. Instead of jw.org telling you what to believe,
Okay.
Chat King James Version is going to tell you what to believe on any subject under the sun.
Chat G
King James Version. Chat
TJT.
KJV. It's called Chat K. So it's kind of like saying
So
Chat.
is it an electronic purveyor of truth?
Artificial intelligence purveyor of truth.
So it's a fact finder,
Correct.
a fact finding.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So why, now Watchtower, you know how the Jehovah's Witnesses say, well, everything you need is at jw.org.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing. Everything you need is at Chat King James Version.
Okay. So what they want to do is consolidate all the wealth of knowledge in the history of mankind,
Mhm.
of right, of truth, into this one
Mm-hmm.
domain.
One domain. And the computer will do the thinking for you.
That sounds extremely demonic.
Yeah,
Didn't Satan already try this?
I think so. Let's go on to the next one. Zombie drug Tranq, 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 is secretly mixed with fentanyl, rots human tissue, leading to amputation and more overdose death in the 48 United States. Why is Tranq not in jw.org?
Trank. Very good question.
Or fentanyl? Fentanyl and Tranq.
Okay. Now, Trank is a mixture
Mm-hmm.
of fentanyl and horse tranquilizers or
Something.
different
yeah.
different tranquilizers, and it causes, from what I've seen and what I've read, hair loss, skin loss,
Kind of like when Jesus, remember,
Like leprosy.
like a leprechaun. Uh-huh.
incredible, and it actually makes people almost look like in a state of
Yeah. Well, Alex Jones told people, listen, and a lot of people have said this too, that this is not your grandpa's marijuana. Your grandpa's marijuana was one
Yes.
time. And everything now, and I remember Alex Jones saying, hey, yeah, I did this, and you're young and you want to experiment. We're not talking about that. Everything is dangerous now. Almost everything is being laced with fentanyl. A girl in Dunkin' Donuts, cashier, had to go to the hospital because a $10 bill had traces of fentanyl. So you would think Watchtower would write this on jw.org and say, hey, listen, don't even, and say, this is what's happening in the real world.
Mhm.
And JW says, well, our kids don't do drugs. Oh, I understand all that. But you send your kids for 8-10 hours a day to a public school. You would think that you would just educate the kids a little bit on this subject,
Mhm.
or the adults.
Yeah, or prepare them
Mhm.
that this is what they're going to be. That's very interesting because Watchtower, if you try to remember when we
Mhm.
lived there,
Mm-hmm.
they would always see any great sin or any
Mhm.
great anything in life that the Bible is opposed to through the prism of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take beer for example.
Correct.
You didn't see a lot of articles talking about the greatness
Mhm.
of moderation of alcohol, or how beer was used by the Egyptians
Correct.
as money. So you do a history of it, and then what happens in the world when people have abused beer. But they always use it in a bit of people who were going to be disciplined by the elders.
Correct.
So they're not really educating
Yeah,
people.
they're
They're
not
just living in a fear world where they can really take the time right here and tell them this is happening in their community
Yeah.
with trank. It's not going to happen.
It's always like, we're telling you what to do. It's like, no, we're not telling anybody what to do with drugs. We're just letting you know that today's drugs of 2023 is not your grandpa's drug of the 1970s.
Yeah, like
That's all we're saying.
you can say, look, we're going to do a little skit with Sophia and Caleb.
Caleb.
Sophia, when you guys get off the bus today,
Yeah.
look where you walk and make sure you wear heavy denim jeans, Sophia,
Yeah.
because we don't want your skin rubbing up against dirty needles on the park when you're
Yeah. Exactly.
At least let them know the dangers that are
That's good. Now, speaking of dangers, police state emergency.
Mhm.
Senate Bill 686 gives Americans 20 years in prison for disinformation, turns the entire internet over to AI spy system. Big news. Is it now? The Senate's going to pass this. The president's going to sign it, but it has to get past the House. It doesn't matter. We're not talking politics here. We're saying that in the United States of America, whether it's today or they're already going, it's going in this direction. You're going to go to prison for disinformation. So because I made this video, I will more than likely be part of this group. Anybody, let's say you made Jehovah's Witness videos and then you delete them. They're still in the YouTube database. They could use that if they don't like you to imprison you. And they're using this word disinformation. You think JW.org, Jehovah, should be talking about this? Because what if they produce an article that the government doesn't like? They could be guilty for disinformation.
Well, if you look at Watchtower, if you do search, they do talk about misinformation,
Mhm.
but they parroted the line of the United Nations. They parroted the line. And I've read their articles. You could read their Watchtower in a way.
Mhm.
They parrot the United Nations talking points.
Mhm.
They do not follow Jesus's Sermon on the Mount. You let your yes be yes and your no be no. Anything other than this is from
It's from the evil one.
John F. Kennedy did not use misinformation.
Mm.
Misinformation killed Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck you.
Yeah, the CIA.
I'm staying with Kennedy.
Correct. But see, this thing about 20 years in prison for disinformation, and you play along like Watchtower. Let's say Watchtower owns a piece of property that the government wants. Well, then they'll say, no, you guys are liars. It's disinformation. You say you don't disfellowship, but you really do. Or yada, yada. What I'm saying is they can use anything against you. And this is what religion should be saying, that, hey, you're using this word disinformation, which it covers it's so broad, and you can arrest anybody for anything. You can steal their property. It's just a license to steal, a license to murder.
And you're not exaggerating. This is it. This is why we signed up. This is why we put on our big boy pants. This is why we call ourselves Americans. This is why you pray.
Mm-hmm.
This is it. This is the end of the United States as we know it.
Oh my God, this is like the movie Marching Call when he goes, no, you don't understand. This is it.
I understand.
Do you?
Do you? This is it. I'm telling you, this is it.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the elimination of the First Amendment. This is the elimination of the First and Fourth Amendments of the United States Constitution, which, if it's true that it's the end of the First Amendment, that will literally kill Jehovah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the first thing you're going to do is go after Jehovah. Jesus is next, because Jehovah's an easy target. I mean, it's small. Jesus is a lot bigger, so it's going to take a lot more work. So Watchtower is stupid, because you know how they write their letters? They should be writing letters to Congress saying, hey.
Unless they're in on it, or they're a protected status.
Or they're a protected class. Hey, we spent too much on this, because we're supposed to be doing lightning round.
Yeah, but that was the most important.
Oregon harvesting. Here's a clip, jw.org. Oregon harvesting, nothing. There's nothing about Oregon harvesting. That is one of the top 10 issues that is happening all over the news media, as far, when it comes to crime.
There was a cabinet level person in government today testifying in front of the Senate, and he wrote a report, and the representative in front of this U.S. House, and the representative said, "You know what? You don't mention the cartels."
Yeah.
And something so important, even they see it,
Mm-hmm.
and we see it too when we're Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're supposed to be observing the world, and you don't mention. So you have to question: Are the Jehovah's Witnesses in on this cartel?
Yeah, because you have a member of the United States Congress grilling a member of the Department of Homeland Security who issued a report, hundreds of pages, and nowhere in the pages did they mention the drug cartels. And you're like, what planet are you living in? Same thing here. You have a religious organization that is supposed to be, Jehovah's supposed to be watching the world, giving the proper food, and he's not talking about organ harvesting?
Yeah.
And speaking of this, in Mexico, just right 30 minutes below us, one of your employees told me in broad daylight they kidnapped 2 girls in San Luis Rio Colorado, and people are wondering, is this for organ harvesting or for sex trafficking?
Yeah.
This is a topic of major concern all over the world, and Jehovah is silent. And you know what? Another topic is way up there with people that are getting a little bit of knowledge. And seeing what's going on is the prepper movement, prepping. You can easily spend $100 on a weekend doing something, going to a baseball game, whatever. But you can also buy, like you can go to a good Chinese grocery store or Walmart or anywhere, and you can buy 4 bags, big bags of rice for $100, maybe even 5, depending on the rice. Now, what I'm saying is this. That's a good insurance policy because what happens if the electricity goes out and all of these people are going to the grocery stores and it's just a madhouse? At least you know that you can eat for a couple of days. Everybody's talking about prepping, and not just scare you, but just saying, hey, prepping is a very good thing to look into. jw.org, prepping. I typed it all in. Jesse, nothing.
I think this is why, you're going to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't normally hear anywhere else here in the GG for GB channel. First of all, you typed prepping wrong.
No, a prepper. I typed in prepping also.
Yeah, you typed it wrong.
How?
Put GOBAGS.
Oh, it's go bag.
It's go bags. Is their prep? See, when you do prepping, and here's the thing, we're in a spiritual struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus said, remember Matthew 5:3, he said right there, let your yes be yes, and your no be no. Anything outside of this is from the evil one. Mm-hmm. Jesus is right here. He is implying that there's a spiritual element, this evil one, somebody we don't know. Who is this evil one? Mm-hmm. Right here with the word prepper and the word go bag, it's implying something. Prepping is implying a spirit of self-sufficiency. Mm-hmm. You're preparing yourself for something.
Yeah.
You're preparing. So, and in America, we have a spirit of independence. Mm-hmm. So we want to prepare. And maybe in other countries, they have a spirit of self-sufficiency. That's great.
And prepping requires work, right? Work, physical and mental, because you have to actually research. And I hate to use the word research, but, learn how to,
So in the Jehovah's Witness definition of preparation, it's the go bag. They're prepared to follow. They are not prepared to be self-sufficient. They're prepared to follow orders. In other words, they'll go to sheep like slaughter. They'll get their go bags and they'll go to the train and they'll be trained off to the concentration camp.
So go bags require no work.
No thought.
And no thought. Because a prepper actually has to think about this. You know, like right now, for some reason, we're having a long winter in Arizona. So if you're starting seeds, you're like, should I start the seeds now? Or am I too late? You know, because like, for example, the lettuce crop is already done. But because they anticipated the cold, they extended the lettuce season a little bit longer in Yuma, which happens every so many years. And California was wet. So that's called prepping, right? You're thinking, you're observing, you're making calculations.
And
with go bag, it's nothing of the sort.
Not necessarily. Follow me on this, right?
Go ahead.
It's even more insidious. It's a well thought out plan. It's a well thought out plan because what you're doing is you're giving the average publisher, the Jehovah's Witness, the impression that you care about them and you're preparing them. Oh, Jehovah's preparing
He loves me. Yeah.
Yes. So you have a go bag and the person is already implanted with the idea that he has to go somewhere. The word is already built in there. They're going to go to the Kingdom Hall. They're going to go to Noah's Ark. They're going to go somewhere for salvation. It's insidious. It's an insidious plan. So the person goes, well, they are prepared. They got basic food survivals. Yeah, but look, the preparer is probably prepared to last 7, 8, 9, 10 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a year of food,
Correct.
2 weeks. The preparer prepares for a long time. A go bag is maybe for 1 or 2 days, a quick trip. It's a whole different ball of wax. And it implies that witness is going to follow the directions from the elders and he's going to go somewhere for refuge. This is an insidious plan. This is a roundup plan.
Wow. And like, for example, Texas, speaking of going, you think of San Antonio. You don't think of leaving. You think of dying in your last stand. I'm going to die here. If I don't make it out alive, I'm going to die right here fighting.
Right.
So it's a totally different mindset. The Jehovah's Witnesses are saying, hey, we're cowards, we're chickens, we're going to run at the very first sight of danger.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's say go back. The argument can be made that it is very beneficial. For example, remember during Hurricane Katrina, some of the people who lived in the lowlands, they were taken away to Houston or higher ground. Yeah. And that was good. Then a go bag would have been perfect for that situation.
Yeah, your passport, your medication.
Everything is ready to go, and then they're going to be taken. But Americans in general, we don't have a trust. I don't trust. And listen, I served as an elder for 15 years. I don't trust the elders in my congregation. I wouldn't trust them with my kids. So I wouldn't trust them. Let's say the government was going to take people to a killing field, and the elders knew it, but their lives were threatened. Would they give their lives up? Think of all the elders you served and said, look, if you tell, we're going to kill you. Most of us were trained to say, okay, kill me, but I'm not going to do that to my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
That's the way we were trained in the 70s. These aren't.
Yeah.
These
are
going to say, sister, get your go bag and get on that
Yeah,
bus.
because I remember in the 70s and the 80s when we were Jehovah's Witnesses, you were trained like if you were going to go to a Nazi concentration camp.
And you would never rat out your brothers. You would take the bullet before you rat out where the brothers are. Yes.
Yeah. Now we're supposed to be doing lightning round. South African minister says Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Argentina, Mexico, Nigeria, and others, which is Kenya, whose president just told everybody in 2 weeks you want to make sure you have all of your dollars out of the system. All of these countries and others want to join the BRICS alliance.
Okay. Now
my God. South Africa, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Argentina, Mexico, Nigeria. These are on top of what
British.
Yeah, well, BRICS
Russia.
is.
Yeah. Now the British would
Brazil,
be Brazil,
Russia, India, China, and
yeah. Well,
S would be, I think, South Africa.
Here it is. You know, you gotta enjoy. You gotta consider everything a joy. Your favorite apostle says that.
Yeah.
Consider it all a joy.
Yeah.
Was it St. Paul that said that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll make an exception and we'll quote Paul, even though yeah. Go ahead.
And the song in the rock and roll era says, the heat is on. So what we have here is put your seatbelt on, because this is the greatest battle that we will ever see in our lifetime. there was a song when we were kids that says, "When two tribes go to war." Remember?
Yeah,
When two tribes go to war. Was
That's
it
what
Frankie
you-
Goes to Hollywood? Was it?
Yeah, something like that.
What we're seeing is we're going to see the dollar go against the BRICS system.
Yeah.
Now, never in the history of mankind, of recorded human history that we know,
Mhm.
because nothing new is under the sun. This
Correct.
probably happened in other
Yeah.
times, but in our,
Not of this magnitude, because we're talking trillions. But go ahead.
we're talking. Well,
This is the Super Bowl of the Super Bowl. It's
Yes.
happened before.
in recorded
Yeah.
human history of
Mhm.
our recorded human history,
Yeah.
where
modern day, yeah.
a nation so great and powerful
Mhm.
that you have an orgy of spending,
Mm-hmm.
an orgy of spending
Mm-hmm.
that surpasses even the moon if you were to stack the dollars up,
Yeah.
and you still can't destroy it. You have to get every nation on earth to try to counter the strength of that dollar.
Think about the smartest people online, man. The smartest people online, and I'm sorry, you may not like him, but Peter Schiff is Gerald Celente. I could just name a whole bunch of Max Kaiser and so many others. I mean, these people have been doing this all of their lives, and they even say the same thing. Not all the time, but they say that this should have been this thing should have died like decades ago. The United States dollar. And it's still kicking ass. It is one badass machine, wrecking ball machine. And so all of a sudden you have a contender. So this is going to be a Super Bowl of Super Bowls. And Jehovah should be warning his people.
Now,
Mhm.
the Jehovah's Witnesses are a worldwide organization,
Mhm.
but they are operating on the American dollar,
Mm-hmm.
like all the rest of the
Like
world
everybody
is.
else, uh-huh.
Okay, so are their assets based on American dollars?
Mhm.
And as the nations start to switch, what are the witnesses going to do? Are they going to remain politically neutral? Or are they also going to switch to BRICS?
Well, guess who is
And if they switch to BRICS, can that be an act of treason against our country?
correct? That's another one, and this too. BRICS. The Watchtower should be talking about BRICS because
Yes, what are they going to do?
No, but Jesse, in BRICS, who is the major player in BRICS? We have all these nations, but there's always going to be somebody at the top, and it's not Xi Jinping. It's Russia. They just announced like a huge, like something like in the tons, like 30 tons of gold that they're like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
we mined it, but we didn't ship it out. We just kept it. And then they're shipping natural gas and oil. So Russia has a heavy hand in BRICS, and Watchtower and Putin are not.
Friends.
We're not friends. So this is definitely something Jehovah's Witnesses in all of those countries should be worried about.
Very worried about, because a lot of their financial assets are going to be overnight found in another economic system.
Yeah.
And you remember our parents, when our grandmother died,
Mhm.
our parents had to sell their home in Mexico because of the peso devaluation. It was just too hard to manage living in another
Yeah.
country, a property. So imagine they might have to go to complete and total independence.
Independence. So that's what, I was thinking the exact same thing. So in a situation like this, Watchtower always has a white boy. Every single branch has a white boy from Brooklyn who is, bedfellows, he's been in bed, literally or figuratively, I don't know, with the governing body. And that Gilead train supervisor, every single one is a white boy, metrosexual white boy. He's in that country. So you could have a coup d'etat. You could have a mutiny on the bounty, like in Mexico, where the Mexican brothers say, you know what, to Obrador, it's over. We're kicking this white boy out, get rid of his visa, get rid of everybody who's an American, Jehovah's Witness in the branch, and then they can save grace and says, you know what, we'll work with you. I mean, I could see that happening. And you know what? That would be in fulfillment of the Daniel prophecy, remember, of the feet and all those little clay pieces where it says it turns. So it could actually be Jehovah's Witnesses have now been, like the Declaration of Independence. You could actually have Jehovah's organization on earth, like the little clay pieces of Daniel.
And it behooves them to have been talking about this, because think about it. Let's say it goes to BRICS overnight.
Yeah.
And everybody in those nations know that property is owned by an American corporation. Those American corporations are going to be taxed very highly.
Yeah. And hold on a second. Let's go on to this. when the United States of America tells Vladimir Putin, "Oh, your $300 billion over here and over here and over here, gone," they just got rid of it, just zero, just gone. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, like you said. It's like a man, right? When a man, he has a wife and he has a girlfriend, and the wife is like, she gives him an ultimatum. It's one or the other, and you're going to make a decision today. That could very well be happening. For example, let's just go with Mexico because we're Mexicans, where the Mexican government tells the Catholic Church and everybody else, the Jehovah's Witnesses, you need to make a decision who you're with. And then they can do the same. They say, you know what, a watchtower, your $5 million, $10 million properties and kingdom halls of another 10, 20 million, gone. It's ours. Just like you did to Vladimir Putin, we're going to do to you. And this is why the other country, the dollar is falling, because the other countries are like, hold on a minute. If we piss off Joe Biden, he's just going to take our money and put zero in the bank account? Like click, 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 enter, zero? So if it's good for the goose, it could be good for the gander. I'm not saying, but this is a reality. And this is definitely something Jehovah should be warning us. They should be one step ahead.
Yeah, because what will happen is, I'm sure they are, but they're not telling the rank and file. They're not telling the Joe Blow publisher of what could be happening. But they have to have been covering their assets in all those nations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or they could just be batshit stupid like Stephen Lent and not doing it.
I don't think so. These people, people have huge financial
lawyers and other people watching. Artificial intelligence. Look, the last time they wrote about it was 1990. So it's 30 years. Watchtower has not written anything in 30 years about artificial intelligence. What the hell's up with that? Well, watching the world.
I believe it's
observing the world.
Observing the world. I think it, once again, this is simple. We don't have to spend 10 hours talking about this. Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, Jehovah's Witnesses have never been accused of having natural intelligence to begin with. So maybe that's an upgrade.
Or maybe all of the Jehovah's Witnesses have artificial intelligence. It's called jw.org.
Yeah, because they've never been accused. They're not very bright. I mean, you go to Facebook, they're still wearing face masks. Yeah,
and I know. Look at this picture. I can look at this picture for a long time. Yeah, wow. I want to know where this girl's congregation is at. Could you imagine you can send your son?
And look at the elder behind them.
I know, man. He's like, that's a funny one. Now, you definitely want to, if you have a young boy, you definitely want to find out where that congregation is. Send your son over there so he can study the Bible with those girls.
Yeah.
Now, lightning round, the last one, gun rights. Why is there nothing on gun rights or Second Amendment on jw.org? We're observing the world. Isn't gun rights a major topic in all of these news media outlets?
Right. And they could have... they use the word violence. Yeah. But here in the United States, we address to it as the Second Amendment, or Second Amendment rights, the gun rights. And I don't think the Watchtower has ever advocated for the gun rights. They want to keep as far away from it. But it's becoming a major topic all over the world. So at least they could write a subject on this.
Yeah, because gun rights did come up in the Old Testament, and Jesus addressed this gun rights with Peter. He didn't tell him to take it away. Never did Jesus tell Peter to get rid of his sword. He just simply said those that live by the sword die by the sword.
Correct.
But he didn't tell him to get rid of the sword. Now, he didn't condemn anybody because they had a sword. So, and then the Roman officers have been praised by Jesus in numerous occasions. Cornelius was the first Gentile. So we know that the Bible does talk about swords and rights, right? And this gun issue is very, very, very prominent. I think it's in First of Kings. Now, I'm not going to talk about much of this because I don't want people to think that I'm pretending to be a Bible scholar. What do I know? I'm stupid. I'll let the Bible scholars, do the comment section. We got a lot of extra Jehovah's Witnesses, but the Bible is very clear and it gives a lot of examples. So again, going back, you would think Jehovah's organization would kind of like just say, hey, this is what the Bible says about gun rights. You make your own decision.
Yeah, they don't even do that. They they obfuscate, they
Pussyfoot around the issue.
or like you said, they dereliction of duty. They're not reporting what's really on the. They're not reporting what's really happening in the world today.
Correct. So that's it. The lightning
Now
round.
we're close to April.
Yeah.
Tuesday, April 4th, and I just want to one quick. I'm on jw.org. It says Memorial of Jesus' Death.
Yeah.
We welcome you to attend our annual event to remember the death of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Now, when I read that, it makes my blood boil. And
Why?
I'm so saddened because I always remembered the Last Supper or do this in memory of me. But here, the Jehovah's Witnesses, once again, so evil. They're playing with words here. They're saying the remembrance of the death of Jesus Christ. Jesus never said to remember his death. You know, he
Jesus
said,
never
do
used the
this
word
in
memorial.
remembrance of me.
Yeah.
Do this in remembrance of me. It's something so good. And they're celebrating the death of Christ.
Yeah.
And that is not the essence of the Christian. We see God as a living God. They see a second-hand God dying.
Correct.
They see a subordination in the death of Jesus Christ. Because look, I mean, if you can't see this, this is why I talked about artificial intelligence. This is artificial intelligence at work.
Yeah.
This is brainwashing.
So that JW article right now on jw.org is artificial intelligence.
Yes, because look at it. It says, everybody who reads the Bible knows, do this in remembrance of me. We remember Christ. We do everything in remembrance of Christ. Hey, remember right now we were watching old Cincinnati Reds and we were watching Pete Rose and Joe Morgan talk. And they were remembering when they were young and they were playing baseball. And we were watching some old baseball videos from the 70s. What do you remember? You remember the bats. You remember the jokes. You remember the hot dogs. You remember all the good things. But here, Watchtower is not saying that. They're not saying, hey, remember Jesus' sacrifice. Remember Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount. Remember Jesus on the Sea of Galilee. Remember when you ran out, Peter, and you fell into the water?
Yeah.
They're not saying that. They're saying, remember the death of Jesus Christ. Something that's not biblical.
That's true. And you know what? Speaking of remembering, what comes to mind for me is Jesus, because in 7th grade, ever since 7th grade, I always remembered, if you're embarrassed of Jesus, he's going to be embarrassed of you. So if I say, Jesus says, do this and drink, eat, and you're embarrassed and you reject Jesus, now I see it. So Jehovah's Witnesses, they are embarrassed of Jesus Christ.
In so many ways, it's an insult to Jesus Christ. If you were in a court of law, the judge would say, when did he say that? When did he say, remember his death? He said, do this in remembrance of me, the life of Christ.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're done?
We're done.
Okay, before we go, guys, I just want to let you know that this Observing the World Lightning Round Part 3 was brought to you by Mexico Lindo, Capitan Picante Negra. If you can get your hands on some of this stuff, trust me, you will love it. Again, this was brought to you by Mexican Lindo, Capitan Picante Negra. So, if you have a product that you like to pimp on our show, email me, all right? So, okay, guys, thank you. Wow, 38 minutes. I thought we were going to go over an hour. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.